Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo. Jai. So welcome everyone to this morning's class. We're going to be reading from the Sri Caitanya Charitamrta by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translations and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we're reading from Madhya Lila, chapter 9, which is entitled Lord Chaitanya's Travel to the Holy Places. We've been on this chapter for a long time. We're coming to the end of Lord Chaitanya's tour of South India. And we're starting from text 310. There. So let's recite this verse together responsively. Tapi snana kari aila mahishmati pure. Nana tirta deki tahan narmadara tire. Tapi snana kari aila mahishmati pure. Nana tirta deki tahan narmadara tire. Please chant. Tapi snanat kari aila mahishmati pure. Nana tirta deki tahan narmadara tire. Tapi snana kari aila mahishmati pure. Nana tirta deki tahan narmadara tire. Tapi snanat kari aila mahishmati pure. Nana tirta deki tahan. Okay, let's do the word for word. We can do this in unison. Tapi, in the Tapi river. Snana Kari, taking a bath. Aila arrived. Mahishmati Pure, at Mahishmati Pura. Nana Tirtha, many holy places. Deki, seeing. Tahan, there. Narmadara Tire, on the bank of the river Narmada. Translation and purport, Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu next arrived at the banks of the river Tapi. After bathing there, he went to Mahishmati Pura. While there, he saw many holy places on the bank of the river Narmada. Purport. The river Tapi is also known as Tapti. The river's source is a mountain called Multai, and the river flows westward through the state of Saurashtra and into the Arabian Sea. Mahishmati Pura, Maheshvara, is mentioned in the Mahabharata in connection with Sahadev's victory. Sahadev, the youngest brother of the Pandavas, conquered that part of the country, as stated in the Mahabharata. Tato ratnan upadaya purim mahishmatim yayo tacha nilena ragyasa chakra yudham nadarishaba. After acquiring jewels, Sahadev went to the city of Mahishmati, where he fought with a king called Nila. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prachardane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasya Chadeshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're going to go on in this section, and Lord Chaitanya is going to visit other places, and then we're going to see he's going to get back to where he started, or near where he's slightly after where he started, which is he's going to meet up again with Ramananda Rai. So text 311. Danus tirtha deki karila nirvindyate snane rishya mukha giri aila dandakaranye. The Lord next arrived at Danus Tirtha, where he took his bath in the river near Vindhya. He then arrived at Rishamukha mountain and then went to Dandakaranya. So this Dandakaranya is the forest where Lord Ramachandra lived during his exile. So Lord Chaitanya is stopping at all of these holy places. Purport. According to some opinions, Rishamukha is a chain of mountains beginning at the village of Hampigram in the district of Bellary. The mountain chain begins along the bank of the river Tungabhadra, which gradually reaches the state of Hyderabad. According to other opinions, this hill is situated in Madhya Pradesh and bears the present name of Rampa. Dandakaranya is a spacious tract of land which begins north of Khandesh and extends up to the southern Ahmednagar through Nasik and Aurangabad. The Godavari River flows through this tract of land, and there is a great forest there where Lord Ramachandra lived. So in Prabhupada's purports here in these sections, we get a lot of directions, or sort of like, locational information. So that Srila Prabhupada was anticipating that hearing about these places that Lord Chaitanya visited, that we will also want to go to those places. So, and sometimes Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also wrote a guide about this, and in some of the purports, Srila Prabhupada is saying, so you go to this train station and you get off there, and then you take a, whatever, just like travel directions. So it's very specific, and which shows us that Srila Prabhupada wanted us to go on pilgrimage. He wanted us to visit these holy places, following in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya, and that's why Lord Chaitanya went to these places, is because although he's Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he came as a devotee to show us how to serve Krishna. And one important service to Krishna is going on pilgrimage. And so he's setting that example of traveling to the holy places. So we should also take some time out of our schedules, schedule some time into every year to go on some place of pilgrimage, right? We have so many pilgrimage spots of Krishna's pastimes in India, Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and his travels and holy places from Mahabharata, and so many holy places are there in India, and now by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada there are holy places all over the world, right? So we can also go on pilgrimage right here in the US, in North America, Europe, all over the world. So many beautiful places of pilgrimage. So this is an important item of devotional service, and it's one of the potent items is that one should, is called Mathura Vas, one should live in a holy place. So we live here in Radhakala Chanjidam, it's a holy place, and Mathura Vas also means going to holy places, going specifically to Mathura Mandala, to Vraj, and Lord Krishna's Vrindavan Dham, but also going to other places associated with Krishna's pastimes. So Lord Chaitanya is showing us that here. Text 312. Saptatala vrikshadeke kanana bitare ati vridha ati stula ati uchatara. Within the Dandakaranya forest, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited a place called Saptatala. The 7 palm trees there were very old, very bulky, and very high. Purport. The name Saptatala is mentioned in the Kishkindya section of the Ramayana and is described in the 11th and 12th chapters of that section. So who lived in Kishkinda? Huh? Bali and Sugriv. Yeah, so we're going to hear a little bit about that. Saptatala deki prabhu alingana kaila sasharire saptatala vaikunte chalila. Upon seeing the 7 palm trees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced them. As a result, they all returned to Vaikuntha Loka, the spiritual world. So this is the power of the Lord's embrace. He saw those trees and he just embraced them, and zoop, off they went to the spiritual world. So I read this and I was thinking, okay, there has to be a backstory here. Like, who are these trees? Or what did these trees do? How, out of all the trees and all the forests that Lord Chaitanya passed through, why these particular Saptatala, these 7 palm trees, were sent to Vaikuntha? So I found out that earlier on in the Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila, chapter 1, 116, Prabhupada writes in the purport there that those trees were there since the time of Treta Yuga, when Lord Ramachandra was wandering through that Dandakaranya forest, and when he went to Kishkinda and he met Bali and Sugriv, and of course there was some tension between the 2 brothers, right? It was that Bali was mistreating Sugriv and, I don't know, kidnapped his wife or something like that. It was a lot of like bad blood between the 2 brothers. So Lord Ramachandra, he needed their help, and he could see that the way that he could get Sugriv's help was that first he needed to eliminate this Bali so that Sugriv could be empowered to help him. And so he did it in kind of a sneaky way, that he hid and he shot him from hiding. And where was he hiding? Behind one of these big, bulky palm trees. So these trees did a service for Lord Ramachandra. They assisted him in his pastimes. And of course, Lord Chaitanya is Lord Ramachandra, right? He's Krishna, so he's the source of all the incarnations, and he's also the source of, Lord Ramachandra is one of his expansions. So Lord Chaitanya knew all this, and he knew these are the exact trees that Lord Ramachandra, that I, in my appearance as Lord Ramachandra, hid behind, and I want to reciprocate with them by giving them some special mercy. So the reciprocation came after a long time, but it came. So sometimes it's like that, we do some, it shows that, like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Nehabri karma nasosti pratyavayo navidyate swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato vayad. That in this endeavor there's no loss or diminution, and even a little bit of advancement on this path can save one from the greatest type of fear. So even a little bit of service, whatever tiny little service we do, in one sense the trees didn't, themselves do anything. They just happened to be there, and they provided, just by their existence, they provided a space for Lord Ramachandra to hide behind. But this this swalpam apyasya dharma, so this little service touched the heart of the Lord, and it yielded huge benefits. So for every little service that we do for Krishna, he reciprocates, so many times more really than what we deserve. So we should always be trying to do some kind of service, either big or little, anything, because even a little bit of service may one day qualify us for the Lord's transcendental embrace, and that embrace is going to send us back home, back to Godhead. So, in this life or the next. So that's a nice thing that we see here from these trees. Okay, text 3:14. Shunyastala deki loke haila chamatkara loke kaha e sannyasi Rama avatara. Translation. After the 7 palm trees had departed for Vaikuntha, everyone was astonished to see that they were gone. The people then began to say, this sannyasi called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must be an incarnation of Lord Ramachandra. So can you imagine? Those 7 trees, they were there like forever, like basically for thousands and thousands of years. So the people that lived in that village, they grew up from the time they were born, and their parents were born and grandparents were born, and those trees were there. And then all of a sudden one day, they're just gone. I guess they just disappeared. They just uprooted and flew back. And so that was something very astonishing. Chamatkara means astonishing. Oh, what? Yeah. Yeah. Imagine if so many trees that line the road here on Gurley Ave. Imagine we come to the temple one day and we're like, where are all those trees? They're just gone. Why? Because they provided shade to all the devotees that were walking to the temple in these hot Texas summers. You never know. Anything can happen with the Lord's mercy. Okay, text 3:15. Shasharire tala gela Sri Vaikuntha Dhamma Aiche Shakti Karahaya Vina Ekarama. Only Lord Ramachandra has the power to send 7 palm trees to the spiritual Vaikuntha planets. So, because Lord Chaitanya came as a devotee of Krishna, although he was Krishna, he didn't often display his godly powers. It was very rare, actually, that he would manifest any signs of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But sometimes he would do it. And, people that were perceptive, they would understand that this person must be the Lord. And in this case, because they're in a place where most people's Ishtadev was Lord Ramachandra, because Lord Ramachandra performed his pastimes there, then they connected with him as being Lord Ramachandra. And also that only Lord Ramachandra would have known that these trees did that service for him. So, and they're right, he is Lord Ramachandra, but he's the source of Lord Ramachandra. Text 3:16. Prabhu asi kaila pampa sarovare snana panchavati asi tahan karila vishrama. Eventually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at a lake known as Pampa, where he took his bath. He then went to a place called Panchavati, where he rested. Purport. According to some, the old name of the Tungabhadra river was Pamba. According to others, Vijayanagar, the capital of the state, was known as Pampa Tirtha. According to still others, the lake near Anagundi, in the direction of Hyderabad, is the Pampa Sarovara. The river Tungabhadra also flows through there. There are many different opinions about the lake called Pampa Sarovara. So over time, these geographical features change, right? Rivers change course. Sometimes lakes dry up and another lake appears, or cities get renamed. And so as time goes by over hundreds of years, then, or thousands of years even, then people are not sure, where the actual place is, right? We know that even after the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya, the exact location of the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya was lost just within like a few hundred years. And there was a whole debate about it. And finally Bhaktivinoda Thakur, with the confirmation of Jagannath Das Babaji, established the location of the Yoga Pit, Lord Chaitanya's birthplace, in Antardweep in Mayapur. So there's Srila Prabhupada is talking about it. Some people say it's here, some people say it was called this, some people say it was called that. So there's some lack of clarity there. And that's just normal. What's that? It could be all of them, yeah. Often in the scriptures it's like, some say this, some say that. Actually, they're all true. Text 317. Nasike Triambakadeki Gela Brahmagiri Kushavarte Aila Yahan Janmila Gadavari. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited Nasik, where he saw the deity of Triambaka, Lord Shiva. He then went to Brahmagiri, then to Kushavarta, the source of the river Godavari. So Lord Chaitanya, now he's on his return journey. He's already gone all the way down to the tip of India. Now he's going up the other side, and now he's actually crossing. So he's going to the source of the Godavari, and then he's going to follow that Godavari down across to East India. Purport. Kushavarta is located in the western Ghat at Sahyadri. It is near Nasika, a holy place, but according to some, it was situated in the valley of Vindhya. 318. Sapta Godavari Aila Kaditirtha Bahutara Punarapi Aila Prabhu Vidya Nagara. After visiting many other holy places, the Lord went to Sapta Godavari. At last he returned to Vidya Nagara. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu traveled from the source of the Godavari River and eventually visited the northern side of Hyderabad state. He finally arrived at the state of Kalinga. So Kalinga is the former name of present-day Orissa, where Jagannath Puri is located, and where Ramananda Rai lived south of Puri, just a little bit south of Puri. Yeah, in this place called Vidyanagar. So this is Lord Chaitanya is coming to the end of his pilgrimage after 2 years. So he's been, I think it was the years 1510 to 1512. That whole 2 years he was just walking and visiting different places, walking, visiting another place. And now he's coming back. So we read the whole chapter 8 of this Madhya Lila, where there's that amazing conversation between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Before Lord Chaitanya left Puri, his close associate Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had suggested that when you go through this place, there's a great devotee there that I would like you to meet. I think you'd really enjoy his association, and his name is Ramananda Rai. So by divine arrangement, when Lord Chaitanya went down to the bank of the Godavari River to take his bath, Ramananda Rai happened to be there, and they connected. And then later they met, and they had this long conversation in which Lord Chaitanya was empowering Ramananda Rai to ask, Lord Chaitanya was asking questions to Ramananda Rai, and he was simultaneously empowering Ramananda Rai to give the answers. So that's a whole chapter that brings us from, Bhakti 101 to the highest stage of Srimati Radharani's Mahabhav, loving emotions for Krishna. So you can imagine after having that exchange with Lord Chaitanya, how Ramananda Rai was, the pain of the separation after meeting the Lord and having such intimate exchanges. And at that time also, Lord Chaitanya manifested his true identity. Right? He revealed that he's Radha and Krishna. And that was one of the rare, there are a couple of times where Lord Chaitanya revealed that he's Krishna, or that he's, Varahadev, or he's, different incarnations according to devotees' desires to see and worship the Lord. But I'm pretty sure it was only to Ramananda Rai that he showed both Radha and Krishna, that he's that Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahe Anya, that he's Radha and Krishna together in one form. So can you imagine just seeing Lord Chaitanya, having that exchange, knowing that he is Radha and Krishna, and then him just being like, all right, bye, for 2 years. And now he's going to come back. What that feeling must have been like. So we're going to hear about that now. Text 319. Ramananda Raya Shuni Prabhura Agamana Anande Asya Kaila Prabhu Saha Milana. So Milana means meeting. And Ananda, Isa. So much Ananda was coming with that from that meeting. When Ramananda Rai heard that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived, he was very pleased, and he immediately went to see him. 320. Dandavatahana pade charana dhariya alingana kaila prabhu tanra uttana. When Ramananda Rai fell flat, touching the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord immediately raised him to his feet and embraced him. So alingana. Lord Chaitanya gave an alingana on the palm trees, and now he's giving an alingana on the Ramananda Rai. So, text 321. Dui jane prema veshe karena krandana premanande sitila haila dunghakara mana. In great ecstatic love, they both began to cry, and thus their minds were slackened. So, premananda. They were in the bliss, ananda is bliss, happiness of love, of their mutual love. It's both so much love for each other. And dunhakar means both of them. Both of them, their minds became shitila, slackened. They just basically lost their minds. Their minds, their hearts just melted. And the inner melting caused an external melting, and the tears were flowing down the eyes. So that's the nature of bhakti, that it starts, there's some external impetus, which causes an internal change, which causes external manifestation. So the embrace caused the melting, caused the tears. So yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more, about the different ingredients of rasa. So there's a stimulus, which is called vibhava. And then there's a voluntary expression or an action, which is anubhav. And then there's an involuntary involuntary expression, which is the sattvika bhav. And then that comes together to bring about an emotion, particularly emotion, which is called vyabhicharani bhav. And then those combine together to nourish the relationship, or the sthayi bhav. So we see this happening here. Text 322. Kata kshana dui jana sustira hana nana ishta goshti kare ekatravasiya. After some time they regained their senses and sat together to discuss various subjects. So it took them a while to gather themselves. It was such an emotional reunion. They were just embracing and crying. And sometimes it's described that they'll be falling on, like fainting, falling on the ground, and then getting back up, and then embracing again, looking at each other's faces, crying some more. So for a while there's just this intense exchange of emotion, and without words. And then, so after some time, kata kshana, after some moments, the two of them sustira, stira means to become stable. They're mentally stable, emotionally stable. They stabilized their minds. And then what did they do? They had ishtagoshti. So ishtagoshti means spiritual discussion. Srila Prabhupada, he introduced this term, ishtagoshti, in ISKCON, and he said that we should meet together, the devotee community should meet together and have ishtagoshtis, where we talk about how to serve the Lord, how to improve our services to the Lord, how to cooperate better in the service of the Lord, and how to fulfill the Lord's mission in this world. So their ishtagoshti was on the topics of, we're going to hear about it. They were reading together from the books that Lord Chaitanya had found. In the last class we were hearing about how he discovered the Krishna Caritamrta of Bilvamangala Thakur, and previously he had gone to a place where he had found a copy of the Brahma Samhita. And so these books were not widely available. And Lord Chaitanya hadn't seen the books before, so when he came across them, then he stayed there long enough for someone to copy them. They didn't have printers and photocopy machines, so somebody had to sit down there and write it. So he stayed in that place long enough for someone to write him out a copy of the Brahma Samhita, and then he carried it with him. And then when he found Krishna Caritamrta, same thing, he got someone to copy it. And so he had his own handwritten copies of these books. So now, text 323. Tirthayatri kata prabhu sakala kahila karnamrita brahma samhita dui punti dila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave Ramananda Rai a vivid description of his travels to the holy places and told him how he had acquired the two books named Krishna Karnamrita and Brahma Samhita. The Lord delivered the books to Ramananda Rai. So first they sat down, and of course Ramananda Rai is going to ask him, you've been traveling, my dear Lord, you've been traveling for 2 years. how was your trip? What was your journey? What were the highlights, right? What did you see? Where did you go? Tell me all about it. So then Lord Caitanya sat with him and telling him all about his trip. And then, of course, for Lord Caitanya, two of the biggest highlights were, I found these amazing shastras. You know, I found this Brahma Samhita, Lord Brahma's prayers to Lord Krishna, and I found Krishna Karnamrita describing all about Krishna in Vrindavan by this pure devotee Bilvamangala Thakur, and these books are so amazing, and I want to show them to you. So then he gets them out of he's like, look at these books. He's really excited about them. And Ramananda Roy also, he's like, wow. So he wants to take a look. He wants to, see what's in those books. Text 324. Prabhu kahe tumiye siddhanta kahile, e dui punti se sabha sakshidile. The Lord said, whatever you have told me about devotional service is all supported by these two books. So he's saying, remember we had that conversation, you were telling me all about devotional service and describing Krishna and Srimati Radharani and their loving relationship and their pastimes in Vrindavan and all the different rasas and all the different, the description of the Lord's transcendental names, forms, qualities, pastimes. Well, it's all here in these books. So, Raya Ananda Haila Pushtaka Paya Prabhu Saha Ashvadila Rakila Likiya. Ramananda Rai was very happy to receive these books. He tasted their contents along with the Lord and made a copy of each. So they would sit together and read these books. And Ramananda Rai, he was like, I need a copy of these books too. So he got someone to copy out for him. And talks about how they would read these books day and night and talk about the topics. So we can read a few more verses. Gosai aila grame haila kolahala Prabhu ke dekite loka aila sakala. News spread in the village of Vidyanagar about the arrival of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and everyone came to see him once again. Loka deki Ramananda gela nijagare madhyane uttila Prabhu bhiksha karibare. After seeing the people who gathered there, Sri Ramananda Rai returned to his home. At noon, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu got up to take his lunch. Ratri kale raya puna kaila agamana Duijane Krishna Kataya Kaila Jagarana. Sri Ramananda Rai returned at night, and he and the Lord discussed topics concerning Krishna. Thus they passed the night. So they would stay up all night. During the day, people were coming, and they would greet the people and give them some attention. And then they would go home, and in the privacy of the night, they would pass all night reading these books and discussing topics. Krishna Katha, that's what it says. That Duijane Krishna Kataya Kaila Jagarana. That these two people, Duijani, Lord Caitanya and Ramananda, just the two of them alone, would do Krishna Katha. Jagarana means keeping awake through the night. So they had such a taste for reading scripture and discussing Krishna Katha that they couldn't sleep. They had no interest in sleeping. They just were propelled through the night by these topics. Duijane Krishna Katha kahe ratri dine parama ananda gela pancha shata dine. Ramananda Rai and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu discussed Krishna day and night, and thus they passed from 5 to 7 days in great happiness. So they spent practically a week there, just doing nothing but discussing Krishna Katha, reading and discussing all day, all night. Ramananda kahe Prabhu tomara agyapana Raja ke likilum ami vinaya kariya. Ramananda Rai said, my dear Lord, with your permission, I have already written a letter to the king with great humility. So this is interesting. Anyways, I'll read the next one because it's following. Raja more agyadila nila chale yaite chalibara udyoga ami lagiyache karite. The king has already given me an order to return to Jagannath Puri, and I am making arrangements to do this. So Ramananda Rai he's talking to the king because he's employed by the king. He's a government official. And so he's writing a letter to the king asking permission to do his work out of Jagannath Puri so that he can be there with the Lord. So he's like, he's telling Lord Chaitanya, I already wrote a letter and it's in the works. my relocation is happening. I'm going to Jagannath Puri. He's already giving me the permission and I'm just making the arrangements to go. So then Lord Chaitanya says, this is the last verse we'll read. Prabhu kahe eta mora eni mitte agamana tomalaya nilachale kariba gamana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then said, it is for this purpose alone that I have returned. I want to take you with me to Jagannath Puri. So we see here the relationship between Ramananda Rai and Lord Chaitanya is so sweet, so intimate, so personal. They spend all this time together. As they did before, they're doing again, spending day and night, immersing themselves in Krishna Katha, reading Shastra together, discussing it. And so Lord Chaitanya is appreciating the association of Ramananda Rai so much that he can't give it up. And Ramananda Rai also, he's appreciating the Lord's association so much that he can't give it up. They need to be together. And so somehow or other, they're just trying to arrange it. Ramananda Rai is like, yes, I'm making arrangement to go to Puri. And Lord Chaitanya is like, yes, the reason I came here was to take you with me. I came here to get you because I need you to be with me. Like, I relish your association so much. It inspires me so much in my spiritual life. Because, of course, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna, but he's in the mood of a devotee. So he's teaching us here that we should all have at least one person in our lives that we can relish Krishna Katha with, that we can really just, in their association, be very inspired, that we can read together, we can discuss topics of Krishna together, we can share our hearts, our realizations, we can bring up questions for discussion, and we can go deep with that person into a very deep exploration of topics of Krishna Katha. And so when I was meditating on this section, it reminded me of a verse that comes later in the Madhya Lila from chapter 22, text 131, where Lord Chaitanya in that section, he's talking about the 5 potent processes of devotional service, which are chanting the holy names, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, living in a holy place, associating with devotees, and worshipping the deities. So he lists 4 of them very simply. But when it comes to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, he doesn't just say hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is one of the 5 potent processes, but he also gives some guidelines for how to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, or essentially who to hear or read or study Srimad Bhagavatam with. So that verse is Srimad Bhagavatartanam asvado rasikai saha sajatiya ashraye snigde sadhu sanga swatovare. So Srimad Bhagavatartanam asvado. Here artana means the meaning, and asvado means to relish or to enjoy the taste of. So he's saying this is how, if you want to actually enjoy if you want to actually relish the meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam while hearing or reading Srimad Bhagavatam, then this is what you need. You need to do it in the association sadhu sangha. You need to do it in the association of sadhus, or at least one sadhu who has these qualities. And he lists 3 different qualities here. So the first is rasikai saha. So rasikai means someone who is a rasika, basically a rasika bhakta. And so rasa means taste. It means the juice, right? It literally means juice or flavor or taste. So a rasika is someone who has a taste for it, right? So we should study Srimad Bhagavatam together with devotees who have a taste for the Bhagavatam, who love the Bhagavatam, who when they read it, they really get into it, they get absorbed in it, they want to, they love the Bhagavatam. And, or as Srila Prabhupada translates it in the 3rd verse of the Bhagavatam 113, he says, Muhur aho rasika bhuvi bhavuka. And he translates rasika there as those who are full in knowledge of mellows or of rasa. So those who know the science of rasa. And we'll get more into that. So we should study the Bhagavatam with Rasika Bhaktas, those who have a taste, and those who know the purpose of the Bhagavatam is actually to nourish our rasa, our relationship with Krishna. And then the second kind of person, or the second qualification of a person who is the perfect person to read Srimad Bhagavatam with, is Sajatiya Ashaya. So there's two things that should be Sajatiya. Sajatiya means like-minded, or like Jatiya means, Sajatiya literally means like kind of the same tribe, of the same species, of the same group kind of thing. So in other words, they're like-minded. And Asha means desire. So they have a similar desire. So they're reading Srimad Bhagavatam with a similar desire that you have in reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So there's people who read Bhagavatam for different reasons, right? Prabhupada talks about there are professional Bhagavatam reciters who read it just to earn money. So if that's not your desire for reading Srimad Bhagavatam, don't read with them, right? Or some people, they're reading Srimad Bhagavatam just to get through it, or just to get a degree out of it, or just to try to be a scholar, or to boast about, yeah, I read the Srimad Bhagavatam, whole thing covered. If that's not your impetus to read Srimad Bhagavatam, don't read with that person. So then there are others who have their desire in reading Srimad Bhagavatam is they want to go really deep. They want to actually cultivate their bhakti. They want to be inspired in bhakti. They want to learn from the examples of the pastimes of devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam how to be a pure devotee, how to overcome our anarthas. They want to really cultivate their loving relationship with Krishna by reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So if that's your desire, then find someone who has that desire and read with them. Another way this can, this is more the next thing. So Sajatiya Ashaya is who has a similar desire or purpose for reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And the other thing is Sajatiya Snigde. So Snigde means affection. So we should read with someone who has a similar affection for the Lord. So ideally this is, that we worship the same form of the Lord. So you should, if you're a Krishna Bhakta, read Bhagavatam with a Krishna Bhakta. If you have the good fortune of knowing more details about your relationship with Krishna, like you have some insight into your rasa with Krishna, in one of the 5 rasas, then read with someone who also, has the same rasa with Krishna. And then you're going to read it, in that mood. You're going to bring out that mood and nourish that mood in each other while you read it. Another way that snigda is sometimes translated, it just means affection. So Sajatiya Snigde could mean that not just that they have the same affection for the Lord that you have, but that person that you're studying Srimad Bhagavatam with or hearing from should have affection for you. The two of you should have an affectionate relationship. So while you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it's not just a study thing but it's a loving exchange that you have. You actually love each other, and you love being together, and the relationship between the two of you or more of you that are studying Bhagavatam together is nourished by that study, by those discussions, by those explorations and sharing and reflections. You get to know each other better in a deep Krishna conscious way. So that's very, very nice in our studies of Bhagavatam to have that affectionate relationships between each other. And then the last thing here is Swatovare. So Swatovare means who are more advanced. So you should try to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from someone who's more advanced, or study together with someone who we see as more advanced, because then they can broaden our perspective, they can deepen our understanding, they can inspire us by their realizations, they can open up doors for us that we didn't even know were there. So that's so these things, that they should be a rasika, right? They should have a taste for it, they should have a similar desire, and be like-minded in their desire, they should have a similar affection for the Lord, they should also have affection for us, and they should be more advanced. So we find that person, and we read Srimad Bhagavatam or Caitanya Charitamrta or any scripture together with that person, then it's going to be another experience. Then we're going to really, as it says here, Srimad Bhagavatartanam Asvado. We're going to relish the meanings of Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to actually achieve the purpose of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is to awaken our dormant love for Krishna. So, Muhur Aho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. One who knows the science of rasa. So I want to talk a little bit about the science of rasa, because we're supposed to read the Bhagavatam with someone who knows the science of rasa, and that means that we should know the science of rasa. And we've been given a complete science of rasa by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That's basically what it is. It's a whole exposition on the science of rasa. So that book starts off in the very first verse, basically, or the very beginning, that the science of rasa starts with knowing Krishna as Akila Rasamrita Murti, that he is the embodiment, he's the Murti, the form of Akila Rasa Amrita, of complete nectarian rasas, or complete in the sense that he's the embodiment of all the 12 rasas. So that's a unique feature of Krishna, because none of the other incarnations exchange all the rasas with devotees as Krishna does. So you see that all the relationships, Shanta, neutrality, Dasya, servitude, Sakya, friendship, Vatsalya, parental affection, and Madhurya, conjugal love, they're all there in Krishna. And not only that, but even the secondary rasas, like anger, wonder, laughter, chivalry, compassion, fear, and disgust, they're all there in the devotee's relationships with Krishna. So because Krishna has 4 qualities that no other incarnation has, right? He has 4 sweetnesses. The sweetness of his transcendental flute, right? Venu Madhurya, his pastimes which excel any other pastimes of any other incarnation in their sweetness, Lila Madhurya, and then his devotees. He's always surrounded by devotees who are imbued with transcendental love for him, Bhakta Madhurya, and then what's the 4th one? His form, Rupa Madhurya. The beauty of his transcendental form is unsurpassed. So, because Krishna has these 4 very special qualities that no other incarnation has, then he inspires rasa. He inspires emotions and attractions and relationships that go deeper and go beyond, categorically go beyond the relationships that devotees with other incarnations can have. So Krishna is Akila Rasamrita Murti. He's that form of the Lord in which you can have any relationship. That there's nothing, there's no limitations, there's no restrictions, there's nothing that's not there in Krishna. So that's the beginning of the science of rasa. And then Rupa Goswami goes into break down the components of rasa. And he analyzes each of the 5 primary rasas according to their components. And so that's kind of how the later parts of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu unfold. Is that he's very systematically analyzing these 5 components of rasa, what they look like in Shantaras, what they look like in Dasiras, what they look like in Sakya, and so on. So what are these 5 components or ingredients of rasa? So the first is vibhava, which means the impetus, right? So in order for there to be a relationship, or in order for us to get that rasa, the taste, the flavor that comes from the relationship, it needs to be some impetus, something that inspires the relationship, inspires an interaction, the relationship, or the interaction. So for example, we can understand these by example. So in Damodar Lila, when Mother Yashoda goes to get the milk, and then she hears some crashing noise, and she sees that Krishna has broken a pot of butter. So that's the impetus, right? This is going to be now the impetus for some experience that's going to give Mother Yashoda a taste. She's going to experience rasa in her relationship with Krishna, and it's going to, okay, let's see. So the impetus is that the pot breaks. Then the next ingredient or component of rasa is called anubhav, which means voluntary expression. So the impetus causes some activity, basically, that some voluntary, like you voluntarily, willingly do something, right? So that's the anubhav. So then what's the anubhav here in this pastime is that after the impetus of, seeing that Krishna broke the pot of butter that she'd just been churning, she voluntarily picks up a stick and starts going to find Krishna, right? She starts walking and then she starts chasing him. So now she's with a stick in the hand and running around after Krishna. This is the anubhav. And this is all, you can see how this experience of chasing Krishna with the stick is nourishing the rasa, right? It's creating rasa. It's a drama which is bringing out emotion. So then the next thing is sattvika bhava, means involuntary expressions. So while she voluntarily started running and picking up the stick and running, but there are so many things that are happening involuntarily, right? That her heart is beating, she's perspiring, the flowers are falling from her hair, she's breathing heavily. So these things are not things that she's like, okay, now I think I'm going to start, I'm going to start perspiring. It just happens. It's involuntary. So this is sattvika bhava. And these are usually, Rupa Goswami lists them as the ecstatic symptoms, right? Tears flowing from the eyes, trembling of the body, perspiration, hair standing on end, fainting, things like that. We don't will these things to happen. They just happen. So these are the sattvika bhavas. And when those things happen, it also nourishes the experience of the interaction, of the relationship with Krishna. So then the next thing that happens, the next component is vyabhichari bhav. So vyabhichari bhav means emotions. So of course Mother Yashoda, while she's chasing Krishna, while she's perspiring and the flowers are falling, there are emotions. And as these other bhavas, the vibhava and the anubhava and the sattvika bhavas are playing out, those things are intensifying her emotions. Right? It's like when you see that she sees that Krishna broke the butter pot, and there's already some emotion. But when she picks up the stick and starts chasing him, the emotion becomes intensified, right? Because the exertion is leading to emotion, and the fact that she can't catch him is leading to more emotion. And then when she notices that the flowers are falling, that her sari is loosening, that she is perspiring, that's also intensifying the emotions when she observes the involuntary things that are happening to her being. And so all these things, and then the emotions themselves are intensifying the experience, right? Because she could just be doing these things, but when she starts experiencing the emotions, then it intensifies the relationship, right? So what's happening is that these first four things are all nourishing her basic relationship with Krishna, which is kind of the foundational component of rasa, which is her sthayi bhav. So the sthayi bhav for Mother Yashoda is vatsalya bhav, is her, sthayi means fixed. It's that thing that doesn't change. So all these other things change, right? A different impetus is going to bring about different activities, is going to bring out different, ecstatic symptoms, is going to bring about different emotions. But what's not going to change is that she's Krishna's mother, and she loves Krishna as Krishna's mother, and that's their relationship. So all of these things go into nurturing or nourishing the sthayi bhav, her relationship as Krishna's mother, and then those five things all come together to produce rasa, to produce a taste. And so Mother Yashoda in this pastime, she's experiencing a taste, right? She's experiencing rasa. So when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we want to experience rasa, right? We want to, the idea that when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we're not just gathering knowledge. We're not just gathering information about a pastime or information about, Krishna, his incarnations, what they look like, what they, when, where they appear, what they do. We're not just getting information. We want to feel something, right? We want to experience rasa. And so the descriptions that are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Caitanya Caritamrta, they're meant to be vibhavas. They're meant to be impetuses, which inspire anubhav, which inspire us to serve, which inspire us to hear more, which inspire us to want to do something for Krishna. And then when we do that voluntary service, then that causes sattvika bhavas, involuntary expressions, right? We become happy. We're serving Krishna. Let's say we hear something about Krishna, we hear a really nice class, and then we're like, maybe instead of just going home or going about my daily things, I'll just stick around and chant a couple of extra rounds in the temple, or I'll do a kirtan, I'll sing a bhajan in front of the deities, because we're feeling inspired. So that voluntary service, and then by doing that, maybe some other devotees join us and the kirtan gets fired up because they're feeling our emotion, and that emotion is contagious. And so now it becomes an ecstatic kirtan, and then we start dancing. So that's another anubhav. We're going to dance. And then dancing, then maybe, we start feeling some symptoms of ecstasy, some sattvika bhavas, and then that just takes us to the next level. And then we start feeling really deeply connected to Krishna, and some emotions arise. We start feeling gratitude to the devotees that are chanting with us. We feel, whatever, different emotions for devotees and for Krishna. And they nourish our sthayi bhav as servants of Krishna. And they, jivara swarpahoy krishnara nityadas, that's our broad-based, foundational sthayi bhav, is that we're all the eternal servants of Krishna. And so it makes us feel like, I'm so happy to be a devotee. Being, Krishna consciousness is just great. I just love being a devotee, and I'm so happy that I'm in Krishna consciousness. And thank you, Prabhupada, for giving me this temple and these deities and where I can serve. So that's nourishing our conviction to stay in Krishna consciousness. And as we get more advanced in devotional service, then these experiences, reading, chanting, then they not only nourish our general devotional, our general identification as I am a servant of Krishna, but they reveal more specific ways in which we serve Krishna, right? In terms of our sthayi bhav, in terms of our, primary rasa with Krishna, what our loving relationship with is. And that's the purpose of reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? That's the purpose. It's not just to know, it's to feel something. It's to be inspired. It's to nourish our identity that I am a servant of Krishna. It's to reveal who I am in the service of Krishna, whether my relationship is a servant or a friend or a parent or a assistant to the parents or a lover of Krishna. So when we study Srimad Bhagavatam with devotees who are reading for this purpose, who know this purpose and who are studying for this purpose with a strong desire to, realize this purpose, and especially if they have some realization of their rasa, their relationship with Krishna, being swato vare, being more advanced than us, then that helps us to actually experience something. Yeah. So, and then just imagine if you do know what your sthayi bhav is, if you know what your rasa with Krishna is, and you're reading with Srimad Bhagavatam with someone who also knows what their relationship with Krishna is, and you have the same sthayi bhav, you have the same mood of affection for Krishna, and the same aspirations for serving Krishna, then you're really going to fuel each other's devotional fire. So this is what is happening between Lord Caitanya and Ramananda Rai. Right? Lord Caitanya is Krishna, but he's in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And Ramananda Rai is either Lalita or Vishaka. Some say one, some say the other. He's one or the other. But so Lalita and Vishaka are Radharani's best friends, eternal associates, confidants, who assist her, who are always there in her loving relationship with Krishna, who are always trying to bring Radharani together with Krishna. So they have a similar affection. They're in Madhurya Ras. They have a similar relationship with Krishna. They have a similar desire to serve Krishna. And Ramananda Rai and Lord Caitanya, they both have this, and they both have a strong taste. They're both definitely Rasika Bhaktas. They have a taste for hearing. They both enter very deeply into it. And the evidence is, as we heard, that they can read all day and all night, and not get tired. And each of them thinks that the other one is more advanced, right? Ramananda Roy is thinking that Lord Chaitanya is more advanced, and Lord Chaitanya also, and that's why he was asking the questions to Ramananda Roy, because in his mind he's thinking he's got the answers. So it's exactly, what Lord Chaitanya is teaching, is that we should relish Shastra with those who are rasikas, with those who have a similar desire, a similar affection, and those who are more advanced. And he's teaching it, and he's also demonstrating it with Ramananda Rai. And he's showing how this is the nectar, this is how to relish Shastra, this is how to be an ecstatic devotee in Krishna consciousness, how to have deep realizations. So we, in our spiritual life, we should have that person or people, right? We should have someone in our life that is like-minded, that shares our desire to advance in Krishna consciousness, to go deep in Shastra, and get together with that person and study with them, read with them, hear from them, discuss realizations, share our hearts with them, and keep that person with you, right? Like Lord Chaitanya's like, I came here just to bring you home with me, basically, So like, keep association with that devotee as much as possible, and that will be very nourishing for our spiritual life. So this is what we see here from Lord Chaitanya's personal example, and what we read in the scriptures, so that we can better understand what Lord Chaitanya is showing us here. So our gratitude goes out to Krishna's Kaviraj for compiling these pastimes in Caitanya Caritamrta, and to Ramananda Rai, who brought out these loving moods, who facilitated Lord Chaitanya demonstrating these things, to Rupa Goswami, who so nicely laid out the science of rasa in Bhakti Rasa Amrita Sindhu, so we can understand that this is actually a scientific process. To understand how this works, what are the steps, what are the ways to actually awaken our prema bhakti, our loving devotion for Krishna. And it's all possible, even in Kali Yuga, even for us. We just need to keep on the path, follow the Lord's instructions, keep immersed in these things, and be patient. One day we'll get the Lord's embrace and we'll go flying back to Goloka Vrindavan. So, all right, I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Or reflections? Okay. Just getting the mic.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much for nice lecture. There is one point that you talked about, and I guess in Purport Games, that word Sajatiya, so whose taste is matches with someone, meaning like if I am...
Put the mic a little closer.
Yeah,
there we go.
You said that if my rasas matches with someone, then I should associate with those people.
Mm-hmm.
So what about like if we associate with the different people also? I mean, so is there any kind of harm, or what could be the result of that? Maybe because we sometimes we do not find that kind of rasas or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as devotees, we're going to associate with many different kinds of people, right? Many different kinds of devotees. We live in a large devotee community, so we're going to mix with many devotees. And we'll get together in kirtan. We'll do kirtan with all different kinds of devotees. We'll, sit in the class with different kinds of devotees. We'll do service side by side with different levels and devotees with different desires, different feelings towards Krishna, or maybe they even, they're Ram Bhaktas or, whatever. That's all fine. That's all fine. But this is talking about that person that you sit down together, and study, and really in a very focused study session where you're sharing your heart, like a little, like more of a private sangha with that person, rather than a general devotee sangha, right? Because we're seeing there too that Lord Chaitanya is here in Vidyanagar, and the local people, they met him before when he visited, and they're all coming to see him. So he's talking to these people, he's giving blessings, he's hearing, maybe answering questions. He's giving his association to all different kinds of people. But then at night he goes to Ramananda Roy's house, and they sit together, the two of them, alone, all night, reading Krishna Karnamrita and discussing it, So it's a different thing. We're going to mix generally with a lot of different devotees, but then we'll have, a small group of devotees that we get together with, and like, all right, now we're going to go deep. Now we're really going to, bare our souls, And so you're not going to do that with everyone. That's not possible, not practical. But still we're going to, associate with devotees and be inspired and talk and encourage each other. We're going to take prasadam together and share our thoughts, and we can discuss things in a general way. But yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada, Priya
Hare
Guru. So thank you for a beautiful class and a wonderful summarization. So just extending this question about Swajatiya, or reading in the association of like-minded devotees.
Mm-hmm.
So we also have, the morning program established, and, the Bhagavatam being spoken pretty much in every temple during the times for the class. So does it mean that, how do we understand that we should search, that is an extra, or should we, think that, no, we just should read Bhagavatam with those that we are, drawn to? And in cases where, we all, at least I really, I guess every one of us like reading or listening to our Guru Maharaj, and him, and in the absence, again. So is the how much attention should be placed on exactly who we are listening, in general, if there is a like some kind of like-mindedness, is that good enough to and then nourish and deepen the relationships as we read the Bhagavatam? Or is it that first we try to focus, yes, we're like-minded, so let us start reading?
Yeah. In one sense, because we're all in Srila Prabhupada's movement, we're all Sajatiya, right? In terms of, we're all aligned. We're all studying Srila Prabhupada's books. We're all dedicated to Srila Prabhupada's mission. We're following the same regulative principles. We're all chanting our 16 rounds. So in that sense, with any ISKCON devotees, there's going to be this sense of Sajatiya, that we're in the same tribe, and our tribe is ISKCON, and we have a lot of common bonds. And that's why you go to any ISKCON temple in the world where you don't know anyone, you've never been there before, and you're going to feel like family. Devotees are going to be, the same songs, you're reading the same books, you can join the conversation, and, you know all the prayers, and, it's like Sajatiya. There's definitely like-mindedness. And, when we sit in a class like this, there may be devotees that, attendees that we don't know, we don't have a relationship with. But that's okay, because we're all, hearing, and we're all here for the purpose of similar purpose, with a similar desire to learn, to grow in our bhakti, generally speaking, right? No one here is like a professional. No one's who's going to give class, from this seat is going to be like a professional Bhagavatam reciter who's just doing it to make money or something, right? Because they would be pretty frustrated if they were. No one's getting paid for this, as far as I know. So, yeah. But then we also, in addition to attending general classes like this, morning class, the standard morning program, most devotees also have our private reading. So you might want to have a reading buddy, so you're going to choose a reading buddy who you resonate with, and who, is a similar mood in reading, a similar approach to reading. And then you're going to be more nourished by that. but also hearing from your spiritual master. Obviously, spiritual master is in this category. Spiritual master is going to be a rasika bhakta, right? They're going to have a taste. That's why they are a guru, is because they're a very advanced devotee and they have a taste for Shastra. And they're also like-minded. That's why you were attracted to accept them as your spiritual master, because you felt like, I really am, I resonate with what they're saying. They inspire me. It means I connect with them. They have a mood that nourishes my mood somehow or other, right? And then obviously they're swatovare, they're more advanced than you. So it ticks all the boxes, right? Hearing from your guru. And I think the affection thing also, because they're your guru, they have affection for you, right? Even if you're just listening to a recorded class, you have affection for them. But if you happen to be in the room, personally present when your guru's giving class and you're sitting right in front of them, then, they're looking at you and you're feeling their affection. It's different, right? It's different. Like if you're listening to, say someone's giving class and they're a great speaker, but they don't know you, you don't know them. Or you may know them, but they don't know you. So because they don't know you, they're not connecting with you in the same way. Someone who knows you and loves you, and then they're sitting on the Vyasasana and speaking to you, it's like, it's different, right? You kind of feel like, because there's a relationship there, you feel the connection more, and their words touch you more personally, because there's affection. That's the nature. When there's love, then everything becomes more meaningful, right? Some random person in the street, like, insults you or something. You're just like, oh, whatever. Person's an ignorant fool. It doesn't faze you. You just go about your day. But somebody that you love, who's very close to you, insults you, it hurts. It's like a knife in your heart, It's like, it sticks with you for months, if you don't go and talk to them and, work